Hey. Just a reminder about the laces. Alright, we good. We good. That's why we're treating. Hey, cat, hey. Alright, y'all. We are good to go here. Greetings. It's 22. Alright, y'all. We are good to go. Let me just minimize this out of the way. Alright, we good. 22. Let's bring up the shimmer. Top of the day, beautiful people. Top of the day. Hey, I'm doing this morning. Am I live on here? No wonder. I was like, what's wrong with this page? Okay, now we're live in both places. Alright, I know something was wrong. That looked weird for some reason. That happened like the first couple days. I forgot to double check that. Okay. So YouTube is up. Is actually up now. Okay. Alright, y'all. Where my shimmer go? Alright, beautiful people. Let's get started with the shimmer. Here is found in Deuteronomy chapter 3. I keep saying chapter 3. I keep looking at the 3, but it's 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 3. Shalom, shalom. Good morning, Belinda Brown. Mom, shalom, shalom. All right, Josiah, shalom. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our God, He is one God, and you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God, for our good always, that He might preserve us alive, as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as He has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. So today, it is Wednesday, February 24th, 2021, day 86 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 755, and that is without the feast days and the Sabbath day feast days added into the count. All right, y'all, today we are in Deuteronomy 22, 23, and 24, and then we'll hop over to the Legends of the Jews and pick up where we left off yesterday on page 340. All right. All right, so here we go. Oh, I slid it up too far. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 22, y'all. That's still up too far. Sorry, I gotta adjust this some more. Okay, here we go. If you see your neighbor's ox or sheep or goat wandering away, don't ignore your responsibility. Take it back to its owner. If its owner does not live nearby, or you don't know who the owner is, take it to your place and keep it until the owner comes looking for it. Then you must return it. Do the same if you find your neighbor's donkey, clothing, or anything else your neighbor loses. Don't ignore your responsibility. If you see that your neighbor's donkey or ox has collapsed on the road, do not look the other way. Go and help your neighbor get it back on its feet. A woman must not put on men's clothing, and a man must not wear woman's clothing. Anyone who does this is detestable in the sight of Yahuwah your God. If you happen to find a bird's nest in a tree or on the ground, and there are young ones or eggs in it with the mother sitting in the nest, do not take the mother with the young. You may take the young, but let the mother go, so that you may prosper and enjoy a long life. When you build a new house, you must build a railing around the edge of its flat roof. That way, you will not be considered guilty of murder if someone falls from the roof. You must not plant any other crop between the rows of your vineyard. If you do, you are forbidden to use either the grapes from the vineyard or the other crop. You must not plow with an ox and a donkey harnessed together. You must not wear clothing made of wool and linen woven together. You must put 4 tassels on the hem of the cloak with which you cover yourself on the front, back, and sides. Next section, regulations for sexual purity. Suppose a man marries a woman, but after sleeping with her, he turns against her and publicly accuses her of shameful conduct, saying, "When I married this woman, I discovered she was not a virgin." Then the woman's father and mother must bring the proof of her virginity to the elders as they hold court at the town gate. Her father must say to them, "I gave my daughter to this man to be his wife, and now he has turned against her. He has accused her of shameful conduct, saying, 'I discovered that your daughter was not a virgin, but here is the proof of my daughter's virginity.'" They must spread her bed sheet before the elders. The elders must then take the man and punish him. They must also fine him 100 pieces of silver, which he must pay to the woman's father because he publicly accused a virgin of Israel of shameful conduct. The woman will then remain the man's wife, and he may never divorce her. So proof of her virginity was the wedding night, so the night that they consummated the marriage, that white bed sheet. Then it was taken and I guess given as a gift to her father. I mean, it's kind of gross, but it proves her virginity, and the father would keep it until the husband came, and if he accused her of doing something that she didn't. But suppose the man's accusations are true, and he can show that she was not a virgin. The woman must be taken to the door of her father's home, and there the men of the town must stone her to death, for she has committed a disgraceful crime in Israel by being promiscuous while living in her parents' home. In this way, you will purge the evil from among you. If a man is discovered committing adultery, both he and the woman must die. In this way, you will purge Israel of such evil. I bet a lot of people is glad we still in the land of our captivity simply because of this right here. Because some of our people, they just rogue and just really just don't care. They just don't care, right? But a lot of times when we hear this, the man part is left out, and they always say the woman need to die. No, Yahuwah said they both need to die. I'm gonna read it again. If a man is discovered committing adultery, both he and the woman must die. In this way, you will purge Israel of such evil. Suppose a man meets a young woman, a virgin who is engaged to be married, and has sexual intercourse with her. If this happens within a town, you must take both of them to the gates of the town and stone them to death. The woman is guilty because she did not scream for help. The man must die because he violated another man's wife. In this way, you will purge the evil from among you. But if the man meets the engaged woman out in the country and he rapes her, then only the man must die. Do nothing to the young woman. She has committed no crime worthy of death. She is as innocent as a murder victim. Since the man raped her out in the country, it must be assumed that she screamed, but there was no one to rescue her. But there was no one there to rescue her. Suppose a man has intercourse with a young woman who is a virgin but is not engaged to be married. If they are discovered, he must pay her father 50 pieces of silver. Then he must marry the young woman because he violated her, and he may never divorce her as long as he lives. A man must not marry his father's former wife, for this would violate his father. Next chapter. Deuteronomy chapter 23. If a man's testicles are crushed or his penis is cut off, he may not be admitted to the assembly of Yahuwah. And we also know that this is, as we read, we know that this is what happened to Noah. And why the priesthood fell upon Shem. Why? Because Noah's testicles was crushed. That's what his son tried to do to him when he saw him in there trying to make some more babies with his wife. Noah was drunk. He went to go get it on with his wife. Ham was pissed. His son Canaan actually came and told him what his daddy was doing. And he got pissed. He said, Yehuda just flooded the world. It's 3 of us left. We inherited it. And he trying to make more babies. And so he tried to perform an operate. If we read it and have all the pieces of the puzzle, we don't get some of the other stories that we are led to believe happened when he did that. But he literally tried to perform an operation on his drunk daddy, which caused him not to be able to have any more children. Noah only had those 3 sons. Okay. All right. Just in case you didn't know, but it's in there. If you got the LOJ, the Legends of the Jews, go back and read that. It'll give you more of the story. And it's in volume 1. I forget what chapter, but it's in there. If you got the book, just flip through every page till you find it. Get to the flood section. I think it's probably like the first or the second chapter of volume 1. If a man's testicles are crushed or his penis is cut off, he may not be admitted to the assembly of Yahuwah. If a person is illegitimate by birth, neither he nor his descendants for 10 generations may be admitted to the assembly of Yahuwah. No Ammonite or Moabite or any of their descendants for 10 generations may be admitted to the assembly of Yahuwah. These nations did not welcome you with food and water when you came out of Egypt. Instead, they hired Balaam, son of Beor from Pethor, and distant Aram Naharaim to curse you. But Yahuwah your God refused to listen to Balaam. He turned the intended curse into a blessing because Yahuwah your God loves you. As long as you live, you must never promote the welfare and prosperity of the Ammonites or the Moabites. Do not detest the Edomites or the Egyptians, because the Edomites are your relatives and you live as foreigners among the Egyptians. The 3rd generations of Edomites and Egyptians may never enter the assembly of Yahuwah. When you go to war against your enemies, be sure to stay away from anything that is impure. Any man who becomes ceremonially defiled because of a nocturnal emission must leave the camp and stay away all day. Toward evening, he must bathe himself, and at sunset, he may return to the camp. And that's what it means to be unclean until the evening. So when the sun goes down and the evening time comes, you then are clean. After you bathe yourself, of course. You must have a designated area outside of the camp where you can go to relieve yourself. Each of you must have a spade as a part of your equipment. Whenever you relieve yourself, dig a hole with a spade and cover the excrement. The camp must be holy, for Yahuwah your God moves around in your camp to protect you and defeat your enemies. He must not see any shameful thing among you, or he will turn away from you. Guys, that's something really good to remember, especially as we're returning to Yahuwah's law, statutes, and commands. Like if we feel his presence, and then all of a sudden, after being used to feeling that presence, you don't feel it anymore, it's time to stop and consider your ways. Have we done something? Father, are you teaching me a lesson? Wait, what happened? Somebody in my house did something? Like, you need to start checking post-haste what's going on in your surroundings, right? I'll read that again. The camp must be holy, for Yahuwah your God moves around in your camp to protect you and to defeat your enemies. He must not see any shameful thing among you, or he will turn away from you. If slaves should escape from their masters and take refuge with you, you must not hand them over to their masters. Let them live among you in any town they choose, and do not oppress them. No Israelite, whether man or woman, may become a temple prostitute. When you are bringing an offering to fulfill a vow, you must not bring to the house of Yahuwah your God any offering from the earrings of a prostitute, whether a man or a woman, for both are detestable to Yahuwah your God. Do not charge interest on the loans you make to a fellow Israelite, whether you loan money, food, or anything else. You may charge interest to foreigners, but you may not charge interest to Israelites, so that Yahuwah your God may bless you in everything you do in the land you are about to enter and occupy. When you make a vow to Yahuwah your God, be prompt in fulfilling whatever you promise him, for Yahuwah your God demands that you promptly fulfill all your vows, or you will be guilty of sin. However, it is not a sin to refrain from making a vow, but once you have voluntarily made a vow, be careful to fulfill your promise to Yahuwah your God. When you enter your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat your fill of grapes, but you must not carry away in a basket. But you must not carry any away in a basket. And when you enter your neighbor's field of grain, you may pluck the heads of grain with your hand, but you must not harvest it with a sickle. All right, y'all, last chapter for the day. Deuteronomy chapter 24. Suppose a man marries a woman, but she does not please him. Having discovered something wrong with her, he writes a document of divorce, hands it to her, and sends her away from his house. When she leaves his house, she is free to marry another man. But if the second husband also turns against her, writes a document of divorce, hands it to her, and sends her away, or if he dies, the first husband may not marry her again. She has been defiled. That would be detestable to Yahuwah. You must not bring guilt upon the land Yahuwah your God is giving you as a special possession. Now let me tell you why I think, right? Now listen, when we read Yahuwah's laws, a lot of this stuff where people, they was like, they have this big thing whether they can get remarried or not. They don't really understand, because first of all, I'm not gonna say that their motives aren't pure, but they just truly don't understand Yahuwah's laws. Because if you're divorced, Yahuwah said that you can get remarried, right? Now there's regulations on who you can marry, but if you are divorced, you are free to marry who you want to within the regulations of who Yahuwah say you can marry, those who serve and worship him, right? And that truly belong to him. Because anybody of any other nation will eventually turn your heart away, whether man or woman, right? But also, right here where it says, when, like, say, the man, he marries this woman, then they get divorced, right? She goes and she marries another man, but then he dies. She cannot go back to her first husband. Why? Because Yahuwah says she has been defiled. Not that she has been but what happens, and now that I'm understanding a little bit more about a woman's chemistry in her body, she's been defiled, because if she goes back to this man, from what I understand, and there could be more to it, but like if you understand like the pH in a woman's body and stuff, it'll begin to get thrown off. And actually, that is a lot of times how women can tell if their mate has been unfaithful, because men carry things sometimes that they can pass to them. They can carry it for a very long time and not know, and it not be considered like an STD, but it's bacteria they carry. So when you're mixing women, it causes their pH in their body to be thrown off, right? Now, not all the time when your pH is thrown off, it could be from eating habits or something else and not properly cleaning yourself, but there are certain things that will happen to your body that will only come from a man who has a bacteria from another woman in his body. So now he has joined himself to you, and the other woman has been mixed into your body. And that's how a lot of times women can tell if their mate has been unfaithful to them, because the pH in their body is thrown off, right? That's a real thing, y'all. I'm telling you, that's a real thing. Me in my life, I'm sure a lot of women have experienced it who may have had grown up or different relationships have experienced that. And if you understand that about that, you understand some things that may have happened or may have went on. So that is how women are defiled, and you're not supposed to go back to a previous person that you once been with, right? Okay. I'll just read this again because we was only on verse 4. Suppose a man marries a woman, but she does not please him. Having discovered something wrong with her, he writes a document of divorce, hands it to her, and sends her away from his house. When she leaves his house, she is free to marry another man. But if the second husband also turns against her, writes a document of divorce, hands it to her, and sends her away, or if he dies, the first husband may not marry her again, for she has been defiled. That would be detestable to Yahuwah. You must not bring guilt upon the land Yahuwah your God is giving you as a special possession. A newly married man must not be drafted into the army or be given any other official responsibilities. He must be free to spend 1 year at home, bringing happiness to the wife he has married. It is wrong to take a set of millstones or even just the upper millstone as security for a loan, for the owner uses it to make a living. If anyone kidnaps a fellow Israelite and treats him as a slave or sells him, the kidnapper must die. In this way, you will purge the evil from among you. In all cases involving serious skin diseases, be careful to follow the instruction of the Levitical priests. Obey all the commands I have given them. Remember what Yahuwah your God did to Miriam as you were coming from Egypt. If you lend anything to your neighbor, do not enter his house to pick up the item he is giving as security. You must wait outside while he goes in and brings it out to you. And so for those of you that be ready to kick in people's doors, give me my stuff, man. I lent it to you like 3 months ago. I'm going to come get it myself. No. You stand out and you wait for it to be brought to you, right? Okay. If you lend anything to your neighbor, and the person who borrowed it should be upstanding enough to give back stuff that don't belong to you that you have borrowed. If you lend anything to your neighbor, do not enter his house to pick up the item he is giving you as security. You must wait outside while he goes in and brings it out to you. If your neighbor is poor and gives you his cloak as security for a loan, do not keep the cloak overnight. Return the cloak to its owner by sunset so he can stay warm through the night and bless you. And Yahuwah your God will count you as righteousness. Yeah, that's what I say. Okay. Never take advantage of the poor and destitute laborers, whether they are fellow Israelites or foreigners living in your towns. You must pay them their wages each day before sunset because they are poor and are counting on it. If you don't, they might cry out to Yahuwah against you, and it will be counted against you as sin. So don't do that, people. Y'all got to pay some people. And today, if you have people on payroll, it will be every week or every 2 weeks or once a month, whatever your pay system is set up to be. Pay your people on time. Even to your very detriment, if you can't pay yourself, your people should be paid on time. Otherwise, they're going to cry out to y'all, and you're going to find yourself in trouble. Even if you get daily laborers, like we can still get daily laborers and daily hirers here from like Craigslist, and they work daily, so you pay them cash daily. I'm not saying you pay them under the table. You still pay. There's a way to properly pay people with cash where you're keeping a record of it, but then you issue them a 1099 at the end of the year if you haven't paid them. I mean, if you've paid them over $400 for the year, then you must issue them, but you can still write it off. Otherwise, you won't be able to take the deduction, you know. And a lot of people, they shoot themselves in the foot when they're doing that. They figure they helped other people. They're not going to pay taxes. But, okay, when you do your taxes for your business, if you're doing them appropriately, somebody going to pay taxes. Either they going to pay taxes on that, or you going to pay taxes on it that you didn't count as wages. Because if you counted it as wages or as subcontracted labor, you could take the deduction on your company's taxes. But a lot of people kind of miss it. And what happens is when these people over here, if you file it and they don't file taxes, they got all these 1099s building up in the system with the IRS. And then when they do finally go to file taxes, they may file them this year or whatever. But what's going to happen is going to trigger the system for the IRS to go back and start connecting your name to these 1099s that a company has issued in your name. Hey, you didn't file your taxes. And you know what? And if you don't explain to people a lot of times that are you paying them cash and you're going to issue them that, they don't realize they need to keep track of their expenses, because now they would be considered self-employed, and it would be beneficial for them to know that, because they could now begin taking deductions and credits and stuff for being self-employed. But I see a lot of people being screwed up all in their taxes because of that, right? And now they owe the IRS a lot of money that they didn't necessarily have to pay them. But that's for all the people who employ people here. All right, I know. For some of y'all that sound like blah, 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 girl, keep reading. But that's for those who employ people. All right. Parents must not be put to death for the sins of their children, nor children for the sins of their parents. Those deserving to die must be put to death for their own crimes. Let me read that again. Parents must not be put to death for the sins of their children, nor children for the sins of their parents. Those deserving to die must be put to death for their own crimes. True justice must be given to foreigners living among you and to orphans, and you must never accept a widow's garment as security for her debt. Always remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and that Yahuwah your God redeemed you from slavery. This is why I have given you this command. When you are harvesting your crops and forget to bring in a bundle of grain from your field, don't go back to get it. Leave it there for the foreigners, orphans, and widows. Then Yahuwah your God will bless you in all you do. When you beat the olives from your olive trees, do not go over the boughs twice. Leave the remaining olives for the foreigners, orphans, and widows. When you gather the grapes in your vineyard, don't glean the vines after they are picked. Leave the remaining grapes for the foreigners, orphans, and widows. Remember that you were once slaves in the land of Egypt. That is why I am giving you this command. All right, beautiful people. So that's our reading for today in here, Deuteronomy 22, 23, and 24. So let's hop over to the Legends of the Jews, page 340, y'all. Here we go. We're picking it back up. Remember, so Aaron taking that last long walk. You know how men be on death row, and they get the last meal, that last walk. This is essentially what Aaron is doing. He's taking his last walk. So now they're about to head up to this mountain. Let me fix this. I don't know what my screen. Facebook ain't saying that, so y'all still must be live. It's weird. My Facebook screen went dark, but I can see it a little bit, but it's just, I don't know. It's weird, but ain't nobody saying nothing, so I think y'all can still see me. All right. Page 340. If you have the smaller book, is volume 3, chapter 5, and the title is Aaron's Death. If y'all been following on, y'all got it anyway. Y'all probably marking y'all book anyway. So, but just in case the pen fell out of the bookmarker or something and you weren't paying attention, that's why I always repeat it. Okay, Aaron's death. Moses wanted to inform his brother of his impending death, but knew not how to go about it. At length he said to him, Aaron, my brother, hath Yahuwah given anything into thy keeping? Yes, replied Aaron. What, pray? Asked Moses. Aaron, the altar and the table upon which is the showbread hath he given into my charge. Moses, it may be that he will now demand back from thee all that he hath given into thy keeping. Aaron, what, pray? Moses, hath he not entrusted a light to thee? Aaron, not one light, but all 7 of the candlesticks that now burn in the sanctuary. Moses had, of course, intended to call Aaron's attention to the soul, the light of Yahuwah, which Yahuwah had given into his keeping, which he now demanded back. Oh, he beating around the bush. He said, what Yahuwah entrust to you? He said the lights, the showbread, the candlesticks. He said, Moses like, well, it might be Yahuwah getting ready to demand that back. Aaron still not knowing. He still think he's talking about the menorah and the lights and on the table of showbread. And Moses trying to tell him, but he about to take the light of your soul. Oh, he would just get to it. Listen, Aaron, I'm going to just go back up one. Not one light only, but all 7 of the candlesticks that now burn in the sanctuary. Moses had, of course, intended to call Aaron's attention to the soul, the light of Yahuwah, which Yahuwah had given into his keeping, and which he now demanded back. As Aaron, in his simplicity, did not notice the allusion, Moses did not go into further particulars, but remarked to Aaron, Yahuwah hath with justice called thee an innocent, simple-hearted man. While they were thus conversing, a cave opened up before them, whereupon Moses requested his brother to enter it, and Aaron instantly acquiesced. Moses was now in a sad predicament, for to follow Yahuwah's command, he had to strip Aaron of his garments and put them upon Eleazar, but he knew not how to broach the subject to his brother. He finally said to Aaron, My brother Aaron, it is not proper to enter the cave in which we now want to descend. Invested in the priestly garments, for they might there become unclean. The cave is very beautiful, and it is therefore possible that there are old graves in it. Aaron replied, Thou art right. Moses then stripped his brother of his priestly garments and put them upon Aaron's son Eleazar. Good morning, Kathy. As it would have been improper if Aaron had buried as it would have been improper if Aaron had been buried quite naked, Yahuwah brought about a miracle that, as soon as Moses took off one of Aaron's garments, a corresponding celestial garment was spread over Aaron. And when Moses had stripped him of all his priestly garments, he found himself arrayed in 8 celestial garments. A second miracle came to pass in the stripping of Aaron's garments, for Moses was unable to take off the undermost garments before the upper. This was done in order to satisfy the law that priests may never use their upper garments as undergarments, a thing Eleazar would have had to do had Moses stripped off Aaron's outer garments first, and with these invested his son. After Eleazar had put on the high priest's garments, Moses and Aaron said to him, Wait for us here until we return out of the cave. Like, why haven't you even told Eleazar, his daddy about to die, and you standing there, Moses, man, come on. Listen, I'm sorry, y'all. All this be going through my head, like, Eleazar. Gosh, all right, I'm going to keep reading, y'all. After Eleazar had put on the high priest's garments, Moses and Aaron said to him, Wait for us here until we return out of the cave. And they both entered it. At their entrance, they beheld a couch spread, a table prepared, and a candle lit, while ministering angels surrounded the couch. Aaron then said to Moses, How long, O my brother, wilt thou still conceal the commission Yahuwah hath entrusted to thee? Thou knowest that he himself, for when the first time he addressed thee, with his own lips declared of me, when he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart. Why then dost thou conceal the commission Yahuwah has entrusted to thee? Even if it were to refer to my death, I should take it upon myself with a cheerful countenance. Moses replied, As thou thyself dost speak of death, I will acknowledge that Yahuwah's words to me do concern thy death, but I was afraid to make it known to thee. But look now, thy death is not as that of other creatures of flesh and blood, and not only is thy death a remarkable one, but see, the ministering angels have come to stand by thee in thy parting hour. Wow. When he spoke of the remarkable death that awaited Aaron, Moses meant to allude to the fact that Aaron, like his sister Miriam and later Moses, was to die not through the angel of death, but by a kiss from Yah. Boy, I would have not been able to get through this yesterday. Oh, my goodness. Okay, listen. Woo. Okay. When he spoke of the remarkable death that awaited Aaron, Moses meant to allude to the fact that Aaron, like his sister Miriam, later Moses, was to die not through the angel of death, but by a kiss from Yah. Aaron, however, said, O my brother Moses, why didst not thou make this communication to me in the presence of my mother, my wife, and my children? Moses did not instantly reply to this question, but tried to speak words of comfort and encouragement to Aaron, saying, Dost thou not know, my brother, that thou didst 40 years ago deserve to meet thy death when thou didst fashion the golden calf? But then I stood before Yahuwah in prayer and exhortation and saved thee from death. And now I pray that my death were as thine. For when thou diest, I bury thee. But when I shall die, I shall have no brother to bury me. Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all just gotta take a moment for a second. These, it be getting me choked up. Okay. When thou diest, thy sons will inherit thy position. But when I die, strangers will inherit my place. With these and similar words, Moses encouraged his brother until he finally looked forward to his end with equanimity. I think that's how you say that word. Equanimity. Aaron lay down upon the adorned couch, and Yahuwah received his soul. Moses then left the cave, which immediately vanished, so that no one might know or understand how it happened. When Eleazar saw Moses return alone, he said to him, "O my teacher, where's my father?" Moses replied, "He has entered paradise." They then both descended from the mountain into the camp. When the people saw Moses and Eleazar return without Aaron, they were not at all in the mood to lend faith to the communication of Aaron's death. They could not at all credit that a man who had overcome the angel of death was now overcome by him. Because remember, when the angel of death came, it was Aaron who had the censers out there when he was going through the camp killing everybody. It was Aaron who had the censer, who had grabbed the angel of death. He said, "Look, we need to stop right now." This is what Yahuwah said. He is calm with the incense. Angel of death said, "Oh, not so." And then Moses was like, Yah and Moses is standing in the tabernacle right now. Let's go. He took his censers, hooked them around the angel's neck, and drug him into the tabernacle with Yahuwah and Moses, right? Okay, so that's what they mean. Listen, this is what they mean when they said this. They could not at all credit that a man who had overcome the angel of death was now overcome by him. 3 opinions were then formed among the people concerning Aaron's absence. Some declared that Moses had killed Aaron because he was jealous of his popularity. Some thought Eleazar had killed his father to become his successor as high priest. And there were also some who declared that he had been removed from the earth to be translated to heaven. Satan had so incited the people against Moses and Eleazar that they wanted to stone them. Moses hereupon prayed to Yahuwah, saying, "Deliver me and Eleazar from this unmerited suspicion, and also show the people Aaron's buyer, that they may not believe him still to be alive. For in their boundless admiration for Aaron, they may even make a god of him." Ooh, and we see that did happen somewhere, didn't it? I'm going to read that again. I'm going to just let that sit and soak in your shana for a while. Hereupon Moses prayed to Yahuwah, saying, "Deliver me and Eleazar from this unmerited suspicion, and also show to the people Aaron's buyer, that they may not believe him to still be alive. For in their boundless admiration for Aaron, they may even make a god of him." Yahuwah then said to the angels, "Lift up on high the buyer upon which lies my friend Aaron, so that Israel may know he is dead, and may not lay hand upon Moses and Eleazar." The angels did as they were bidden, and Israel then saw Aaron's buyer floating in the air, while Yahuwah stood before it, and the angels behind intoned a funeral song for Aaron. Yahuwah lamented in the words, "He entereth into peace. They rest in their beds, each one that walketh in his uprightness." Whereas the angel said, "The law of truth was in his mouth, and unrighteousness was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and uprightness, and did turn many away from iniquity." Let's move to the next section. The general mourning for Aaron. When Israel beheld the funeral rites prepared in honor of Aaron by Yahuwah and by the angels, they also prepared a funeral ceremony of 30 days in which all the people, men and women, adults and children, took part. This universal mourning had its foundation not only in Israel's emulation of the divine mourning and the ceremonies arranged by Moses and Eleazar, or in their wish to show their reverence for the deceased high priest, but first and foremost in the truth that the people deeply loved Aaron and deeply felt his death. They mourned for him even more than they did later for Moses. For the latter, only a part of the people shed tears, but for Aaron, everyone. Moses, as a judge, was obliged to mete out justice to the guilty, so that he had enemies among the people, men who could not forget that he had pronounced them guilty in court. Moses, furthermore, was sometimes severe with Israel when he held up to them their sins, but never Aaron. The latter loved peace and pursued peace, loved men and brought them near to the Torah. In his humility, he did not consider his dignity hurt by offering greetings first, even to the lowliest. Yes, he did not even fail in offering his greeting when he was certain that the man before him was wicked and godless. The lament of the angels for Aaron as one who did The lament of the angels for Aaron as one who did turn many away from iniquity was therefore well justified. This kindliness of his led many a sinner to reform, who at the moment when he was about to commit a sin thought to himself, "How shall I be able to lift up my eyes to Aaron's face? I, whom Aaron was so kind, blushed to do evil." Aaron recognized his especial task as that of a peacemaker. If he discovered that two men had fallen out, he hastened first to that one and then to the other, saying to each, "My son, thou dost not know what..." Okay. Let me restart that again. Aaron recognized his especial task as that of the peacemaker. If he discovered that two men had fallen out, he hastened to the first one, then to the other, saying to each, "My son, dost thou not know what he is doing with whom thou hast quarreled? He beats at his heart, rends his garment in grief, and says, Woe is me! How can I ever again lift up my eyes and look upon my companion, whom..." Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm reading. My eyes moving faster than I'm reading. I'm skipping words. "How can I ever again lift up my eyes and look upon my companion against whom I have acted so?" Aaron would then speak to each separately until both the former enemies would mutually forgive each other, and as soon as they were again face to face, salute each other as a friend. If Aaron had heard that husband and wife lived in discord, he would hasten to the husband, saying, "I come to thee because I hear that thou and thy wife live in discord, wherefore thou must divorce her. Keep in mind, however, that if thou shouldest in place of thy present wife marry another, it is very questionable if thy second wife will be as good as this one. For as your first quarrel she will throw up to thee that thou art a quarrelsome man, as was shown by thy divorce, divorce from thy first wife. Many thousands of unions were saved from impending rupture by the efforts and urgings of Aaron, and the sons born to the couples brought together anew usually received Aaron's name, owing as they did their existence to his intercession. Wow. So a lot of couples would have been divorced, and a lot of these children owe their existence to Aaron and help mending the relationships. Otherwise, they would have parted, and those children would not be here. That's good. Let me go back. Let me read that again. "Keep in mind, however, that if thou shouldest in place of thy present wife marry another, it is very questionable if thy second wife will be as good as this one. For at your first quarrel she will throw up to thee that thou art a quarrelsome man, as was shown by thy divorce from thy first wife. Many thousands of unions were saved from impending rupture by the efforts and urgings of Aaron, and the sons born to the couples brought together anew usually received Aaron's name, owing as they did their existence to his intercession. Not less than 80,000 youths bearing his name took part in mourning for Aaron. Oh my gosh. How could y'all tell them apart? I guess it'll be Aaron, son of Miriam. Aaron, son of John. Aaron, son of Tom. Like, that's how y'all had to distinguish them. Like, y'all had to recognize your parents' voice calling y'all. Okay, listen. Not less than 80,000 youths bearing his name took part in the mourning for Aaron. When Moses beheld the deep-felt sorrow of heavenly beings and of men for Aaron, he burst into passionate weeping and said, Woe is me that am now left all alone. When Miriam died, none came to show her last marks of honor, and only I, Aaron, and his sons stood about her bier, wept for her, mourned for her, and buried her. At Aaron's death, I and his sons were present at his bier to show him his last marks of honor. But alas, how shall I fare? Who will be present at my death? I have neither father nor mother, neither brother nor sister. Who will then weep for me? Yahuwah, however, said to him, Be not afraid, Moses. I myself shall bury thee amid great splendor. And just as the cave in which Aaron lied has vanished, that none may know the spot where Aaron is buried, so too shall no mortal know thy burial place. As the angel of death had no power over Aaron, who died by the kiss, so shall the angel of death have no power over thee, and thou shalt die by the kiss. By the kiss. Ooh, wow. And we're going to see exactly that, right? Also with Abraham, we saw that the angel of death couldn't take Abraham either. It was Yahuwah himself who had to come. Even Abraham knew. He said, listen, you are not going to take my soul. Only Yahuwah himself can come get me. Same thing happened. And with Moses, we're going to see also, it explained it a little bit with Abraham, but I think it gives more detail with the death of Moses on days and hours leading up to his death, and when the angel of death tried to take him. It said that his soul weighed so much it was impossible for the angel to budge him. There was no way, because his righteousness outweighed everything. It's crazy the way they explain it. I'm not crazy, but it's beautiful. I'm just like, okay. But we'll be getting to that soon, y'all. Okay. Moses grew calm at these words, knowing at last that he had his place among the blessed pious. Blessed are thy, for not only does Yahuwah in person gather them to him. Blessed are thy, for not only does Yahuwah in person gather them to him, but as soon as they are dead, the angels go joyously to meet them, and with beaming faces go to greet them, saying, Enter into peace. All right, where we at? Okay, we're going to read this next section. The false friends. When Moses and Eleazar returned from the mountain without Aaron, Israel said to Moses, We shall not release thee from this spot until thou showest us Aaron, dead or alive. Moses prayed to Yahuwah, and he opened the cave, and all Israel saw within it Aaron lying dead upon a briar. They instantly felt what they had lost in Aaron, for when they had turned to look at the camp, they saw the clouds of glory that had covered the site of the camp during their 40 days' march had vanished. Oh my gosh. Listen, this is every time a righteous person dies. Remember, we talked about, and it tells us, the righteous are a shield to their generation, right? So each time a righteous person pass on, something else is taken from us, right? Something else is taken. when Miriam died, that well that constantly followed them wherever they went, where they had no need of thirst, it vanished, it disappeared, and they freaked out. Miriam is gone, and so is the well. How we gonna drink? We all gonna die of thirst. And they started getting on Moses again. Now when Aaron died, right, the cloud, and listen, I'm gonna read it again. They instantly felt what they had lost in Aaron. For when they turned to look at the camp, they saw that the clouds of glory that had covered the site of the camp during their 40 years' march had vanished. They perceived, therefore, that Yahuwah had sent these clouds for Aaron's sake only, and hence, with Aaron's death, caused them to vanish. These among Israel who had been born in the desert, having now, owing to the departure of the clouds of glory, for the first time beheld the sun and moon, and wanted to fall down before them and adore them, for the clouds had always hidden the sun and the moon from them, and the sight of them made a most awful impression upon them. But Yahuwah said to them, Have I not commanded you in my Torah? Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and stars, even all the host of heaven, thou be drawn away and worship them and serve them. For it is Yahuwah that led thee out of the furnace of Egypt, that thou mightest be the people of his inheritance. The disappearance of the clouds of glory inspired Israel with terror, for now they were unaided against the attacks of their enemies, whereas none had been able to enter into the camp of Israel while the clouds covered them. Oh my gosh. May it never be that the clouds of glory are lifted from our homes. Listen. The disappearance of the clouds of glory inspired Israel with terror, for now they were unaided against the attacks of the enemies, whereas none had been able to enter into the camp of Israel while the clouds covered them. This fear was not indeed ungrounded, for hardly did Amalek learn that Aaron was dead and the clouds of glory had vanished, when he at once set about harassing Israel. Amalek acted in accordance with the counsel of his grandsire Esau, who had given him for his words to his grandson had been, In spite of all my pains, I did not succeed in killing Jacob. Therefore be mindful of avenging me upon his descendants. But how, alas, said Amalek, shall I be able to compete with Israel? Esau made answer, Look well, and as soon as thou see Israel stumble, leap upon them. Amalek looked upon this legacy as the guiding star of his actions. When Israel trespassed, saying with little faith, Is Yahuwah among us or not? Amalek instantly appeared. Hardly had Israel been tempted by its spies wickedly to exclaim, Let us make a captain and let us return to Egypt, when Amalek was on the scene to battle with Israel. In later times also, Amalek followed this policy, and when Nebuchadnezzar moved to Jerusalem in order to destroy it, Amalek took upon his position 1 mile away from the holy city, saying, If Israel should conquer, I should declare that I had come to assist them. But should Nebuchadnezzar be victorious, then I shall cut off the flight of the fleeing Israelites. His hopes were realized, for Nebuchadnezzar was victorious, and standing at the crossway, he cut down the fleeing Israelites and added insult to injury by hurling invectives against Yahuwah and the people and ridiculing them. When after Aaron's death, Amalek no longer considered Israel dangerous, since the cloud had disappeared, he instantly set about making war upon them. Amalek did not, however, go in open warfare against Israel, but tried through craft to attain what he dared not hope for in open warfare. Concealing their weapons in their garments, the Amalekites appeared in Israel's camp as if they meant to condole with them for Aaron's death. They should be consoled, but okay. The Amalekites appeared in Israel's camp as if they meant to console with them for Aaron's death, and they unexpectedly attacked them. Not content with this, the Amalekites disguised themselves in Canaanite costume and spoke the speech of the latter, so that the Israelites might not be able to tell if they had before them Amalekites as their personal appearance seemed to show, or Canaanites as their dress and speech indicated. The reason for this disguise was that Amalek knew that Israel had inherited the legacy from their ancestor Isaac, that Yahuwah always answered their prayer. Hence Amalek said, if we now appear as Canaanites, they will implore Yahuwah to send them aid against the Canaanites, and we shall slay them. But all these wiles of Amalek were of no avail. Israel couched their prayers to Yahuwah in these words. It says Israel couched, or could be crouched. Israel couched their prayer to Yahuwah in these words. O Lord of the world, we know not with what nation we are now waging war, whether with Amalek or with Canaan, but whichsoever nation it be, pray visit punishment upon it. Yahuwah heard their prayer, and promising to stand by them, ordered them totally to annihilate their enemies, saying, although ye are now dealing with Amalek, do not treat him like Esau's other son, against whom ye may not war, but try totally to destroy them, as if they were the Canaanites. Israel acted according to this command, slaying the Amalekites in battle, and dedicating their cities to Yahuwah. Amalek's only gain in this enterprise was that at the beginning of the war, they seized a slave woman who had once belonged to them, but who later passed over into the possession of the Israelites. For Israel, this attack of Amalek had indeed serious consequences, for as soon as they perceived he approached the enemy, they were afraid to continue the march to Palestine, being now no longer under the protection of the clouds that vanished with Aaron's death. Hence they determined to return to Egypt. They actually carried out part of this project by retreating 8 stations, but the Levites pursued them, and in Moserah there arose a bitter quarrel between those who wanted to return to Egypt and the Levites who insisted upon the continuance of the march to Palestine. Of the former, 8 tribal divisions were destroyed in this quarrel, 5 Benjamite and the others Simeonite, Gadite, Asherite divisions, while the Levites' 1 division was completely extirpated, and 3 others decimated in such a way that they did not recover until the days of David. The Levites were finally victorious, for even their opponents recognized that it had been folly on their part to desire to return to Egypt, and that their loss had been only a punishment because they had not arranged a mourning ceremony adequate to honor a man of Aaron's piety. They thereupon celebrated a grand mourning ceremony for Aaron in Moserah, and it is for this reason that people later spoke of this place as the place where Aaron died, because the great mourning rites took place there. Okay. This is the last section. This is real short. The brazen serpent. Owing to the king of Edom's refusal to permit Israel to pass through his land, they were obliged at the very point when they believed themselves at the end of their march to continue it, so as to go around the land of Edom. The people, weary of the many years' marches, now became peevish, saying, we have already been close to the promised land, and now must turn about once more. It was the same for our fathers, who, close to their goal, had to turn back and roam about for 38 years. Thus will it be with us. In their dejection, they set about mourning against Yahuwah and Moses, master and servant being to them as one. They complained that they were entirely thrown upon manna as a means of sustenance. This last mentioned complaint came from those in regard to whom Yahuwah had vowed that they should never see the land which he had sworn unto the patriarchs. These people could not bear the sight of the products of the Palestine soil, dying as soon as they beheld them. Now that they had arrived at the outskirts of the promised land, the merchants brought into the camp of the Israelites the native products, but these, unable to partake of them, still had to continue to gather sustenance exclusively from manna. Then a voice sounding from the heavens became audible upon earth, making this announcement: Come hither and behold, O ye men, come hither and hearken, ye the serpent with the words, Dust shalt thou eat. Yet it complained not of its food. But ye, my people that I have led out of Egypt, for whom I caused manna to rain down from heaven, and quails to fly from the sea, and a spring to gush forth from the abyss, ye do murmur against me on the account of manna, saying, Our soul loathe this light bread. Let now the serpents come that complained not, even though whatever food they ate tasted only of the dust, and let them bite those who murmur, though they have of food that passes every conceivable flavor. The serpent, which was the first creature to slander its maker, was therefore punished, shall now punish this people, which, not profiting by the example of the serpent's punishment, blasphemes its creator by declaring that the heavenly food that he sends them will finally bring them death. The very serpents that during the 40 years' march had been burned by the cloud of glory and lay heaped up on high round about the camp, these same serpents now bit the people so terribly that their poison burned the souls of them whom they attacked. When Moses betook himself to those who had been bitten, hearing that they were too ill to come to him, they, conscious of their guilt, said to him, We have sinned because we have spoken against Yahuwah and against thee. Pray unto Yahuwah that he take away the serpents from us. Such was the meekness of Moses that he instantly forgave the people's transgression in regard to himself, and at once implored Yahuwah's aid. Yahuwah also, however, forgave their sin as soon as they had shown penitence, and thus set an example to man. Likewise to grant forgiveness when it is requested. As a healing for those who had been bitten, Yahuwah now bade Moses to make a serpent of brass and put it upon the pole, that it might come to pass that everyone who was bitten might look upon it and live. Moses did as he was bidden and made a serpent of brass. As soon as he hurled it on high, it remained floating in the air, so that all might be able to look upon it. He made the serpent brass because in Hebrew, Nahash signifies snake, and Nehishet brass. Hence Moses made the serpent of a substance that had a sound similar to that of the object fashioned out of it. It was not, however, the sight of the serpent of brass that brought with it the healing and life, but whenever those who had been bitten by the serpents raised their eyes upward, subordinated their hearts to the will of the Heavenly Father, they were healed. If they gave no thought to Yahuwah, they perished. Looking upon the serpent of brass brought about healing not only to those who had been bitten by serpents, but also those who had been bitten by dogs or other animals. The cure of the latter was effected even more quickly than that of the former, for the casual glance sufficed for them, whereas the former were healed only after a long, insistent gaze. And we are going to stop right there today, my beautiful people, and we'll pick this back up tomorrow. Yep. Okay. So that was Legends of the Jews. We started on page 340 and we ended on page 344. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. We read Deuteronomy 22, 23, and 24 first along with this. It is Wednesday, February 24th, 2021, day 86 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 755. And remember, that is without the feast days and the Sabbath feast days and the Sabbaths added in. Otherwise, we'll be close, I think, actually well over the 900-day count. Almost 1,000 days, all right? We've been doing this, but resting on the Sabbath. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up the blessing. Everybody know where that's found at, right? Where the blessing found? I'm going to wait today for somebody to post it. Where's the blessing found? I've been on repeating it for almost like 1,000 days. The blessing is found where? Good morning. Good morning, Uncle James Brown. Anybody remember where the blessing found at? Anybody? Bueller. Anybody? Anybody? Maybe everybody driving and can't. Okay, so I know y'all know it is found. Thank you, Trina. Numbers chapter 6. And it starts at verse 22 all the way to the end of the chapter, verse 27. And the Nazarite vow starts at the beginning of chapter 6. It's the first 21 verses. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Okay, beautiful people. I think we're done. I don't believe that there were any questions or anything today. So with that being said, people, we out of here. I'm going to let everybody get about their day today. And I will see y'all bright and early in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce. Thanks for hanging out with me today while I stand my post.